Sounds good.
And I'm going to share the screen.
I don't
feel like
my brain does not feel like being fried tonight. I'll tell you.
I feel like my share screen keeps moving every time I go in as well, so I'm always looking for it, but here it is. And we did a fair bit of this paragraph 3 last time, but
Yes, we did.
yeah, but it's one that deserves another look, I think. So who wants to read it? So this is we're in chapter 1 still.
Yeah.
And this is, I don't want to move it because it takes a while to get the right format up.
I can check in with you later to find out. I enjoy holding the book in
book?
my hand.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I get you. And it says 109 on Kindle, but that's not necessarily where it is in the book, because you can change the size and everything. So that won't help you, but I'll let you know exactly where it is in the book.
Yeah, I'll hit you up later to find out.
So who wants to read that paragraph 3?
I vote for Joe because he's sitting in front of the tree of life.
So this top one here.
Yep.
Fantasy is a distorted form of vision. Fantasies of any kind are distortions because they are always involving twisting perception into unreality. Actions that stem from distortions are literally the reactions of those who know not what they do. Fantasy is an attempt to control reality according to false needs. Twist reality in any way and you are perceiving destructively. Fantasies are means of making false associations and attempting to obtain pleasure from them. But although you can perceive false associations, you can never make them real except to yourself. You believe in what you make. If you offer miracles, you will be equally strong in your belief in them. The strength of your conviction will then sustain the belief of the miracle receiver. Fantasies become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent to both giver and receiver. Reality is lost through, help me out with this one.
Usurpation.
Usurpation? Go.
No, I don't think that's right either. Usurpation, no? V, do you know what it is?
I got stuck on this last week too.
Yeah.
I definitely will be looking it up in a moment.
Yeah, I was just about ready to get on Siri to see if I could find it.
So we'll skip that. I like what you said for the second one, usurpation, which produces tyranny. As long as a single, tyranny. As long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle-minded.
Well done.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Boy, it's hard to read and it's a little easier to understand. I think I'm getting a little clearer on this second time around. Who would like to give it a go? I'll give it a go if no one else is going to volunteer. So and this is of course how I'm interpreting it. So it may or may not be true, but fantasy is a distorted form of vision. Fantasies of any kind are distortions because they involve twisting perception into unreality. So my belief is that fantasies are really about seeing the separation of how people will divide themselves, create barriers against each other based upon their conversations, their beliefs, and how they see the world. I got in a conversation with a neighbor of mine who I love dearly. I weep whenever we have an opportunity to talk. He's this really holy man. and he's like full blown, walks with Christ every moment of every day. But I don't even know how to call him. He's like a transformed Christian, but really beautiful. And he said to me that, because he wanted me to go to his church, and then all of a sudden he was like, I don't think that's probably be the best thing. And I'm like, really? Alrighty, then I'll trust you. And then he finally said, Gary, I really do think that Satan has infiltrated all the churches here, because now all they're doing is preaching separation and hate and judgment and condemnation. And he said it has absolutely nothing to do with what Jesus taught. And I'm like, I'm so glad you said that. And that is the fantasy. The fantasy is to see something else other than love, connection, oneness, sameness, celebration of our differences, embracing of the diversity that God's creation is. So that's how I'm interpreting fantasy, is seeing things that aren't actually reality, that they're not encased in that oneness. Then it's a fantasy twisting perception into an unreality. Actions that stem from distortions are literally the reactions of those who know not what they do. And that's really powerful, because my friend, his name's Kurt, said, I went to the minister and I went to his office and I told him what his sermon did to me, how it affected me. And is he sure he wants to hold that reality? And he said, and then we prayed together, and his tone completely changed, and he began to see my point of view. So I thought, good for you, buddy. Fantasies are a means of making false associations and attempting to obtain pleasure from them, which means if we're looking at individuals and aggrandizing our positions, I'm just going to pretend like I'm a born-again evangelical Christian, is that I'm more sacred than you. I've got the answers, and my way of believing and seeing Christ is what I'm going to distort of what the Bible was actually saying. But it isn't necessarily that. But it is what we believe, and we can perceive. It says, but although you can perceive false associations, you can never make them real except to yourself. Which meaning we can read any teaching, not just not just Christianity, but any teachings, and we can distort it and believe it, but it's not true out here, but it's true to us. And people oftentimes will die for their own belief systems, but it's self-created. You believe in what you make, meaning our worldview, our belief systems, we believe it. If you offer miracles, which is oneness, and the perception that all things are one, part of the divine, you will be equally strong in your belief in them. The strength of your conviction will then sustain the belief of the miracle receiver. Fantasies become totally unnecessary as the wholly satisfying nature of reality becomes apparent to both giver and receiver. So when there's a connection and there's a sense of oneness, there's no need to fantasize about anything else other than that oneness. Reality is lost through usurpation. I can't pronounce it. Usurpation. Say it again.
Usurpation.
Thank you. Usurpation, which produces tyranny. As long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle-minded. Now, for me, I've never been able to wrap my head when the Course in Miracles goes global like that. So, but how I'm interpreting it, my fantasy is that reality is lost through usurpation which produces tyranny. As long as a single slave remains to walk the earth, your release is not complete. Complete restoration of the sonship is the only goal of the miracle-minded. And this may be completely wrong, but I'll just state what I get from it. Like I would view myself a slave of my fantasies and my distorted way of seeing. And that means as I walk the earth, the release isn't complete because I'm a slave to my own fantasies. So when I change to see the miracle and see all things as the sonship, then that is a goal of the miracle-minded, which means that when we stop judging and condemning and seeing only oneness, the sonship becomes complete.
Yeah.
And I do believe we can only do that within ourselves. Everyone else may not be doing that, but we can do it in ourselves, and the whole creation becomes the sonship. That's the only way I can interpret it. Does anyone have another take on it?
I'm just wondering, from what you just said, then would it be as long as a single slave remains, that would be like part of me being the slave?
That's how I'm interpreting it. It may be incorrect, but that's how I'm interpreting it, because I keep thinking, what do I have control over? I have control over what I choose, the meaning I choose to give the things I'm perceiving. I've got control over that.
Yeah.
I don't have control whether someone in Sudan is being enslaved. I don't have control over that. But I've got control over how I view someone in Sudan being enslaved. I can view it as that soul meeting out its karmic destiny. I could, not that we wouldn't do something to help, of course, but not to just walk through the world in a tragic heartbreak, because it would be very easy to do that. And I would then be a slave of the separation, the apparent separation, that's all around us. In America, there's a mass shooting every week. Every week, there's a mass shooting. It used to be once every 6 months, or once every 3 months, or once a month even. That would be better. But now it's once a week, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. So, that's a fantasy to be tackled. Does anyone else have
reality to
anything?
be tackled?
Yeah, it is. It's quite interesting. Does anyone have any questions about number 3?
Well, I think I said last week, fantasy for me, when I'm reading through this, because it was the first time I've come across it, is meaning it's associated to the ego. So when we're looking at things and if we're looking from our ego, then this is where the fantasies come from. That's what I'm kind of interpreting it as. And
Yeah.
the paragraph or the sentence, fantasies are a means of making false associations and attempting to obtain pleasure from them. So for me, that's talking, the first thing that I imagine is gossiping, and the feeling that you get from creating gossip is not really pleasure. It's just something really yucky. But people do it, and they I don't know, maybe they build some camaraderie with the people that they're gossiping with. I don't know where that comes from, but I need to check in for myself, where if I'm feeling pleasure, is that coming from a place of love, or is that coming from some addiction, or it's just some association to what's familiar to me.
Yeah, well, the ego always means you're seeing, yourself as separate, and you're seeing everyone else as separate, and you would have to have fear, because the ego is nothing but fear. And so, yeah, all of it's there as far as the word fantasy goes. It is the perception of separateness and differences.
And the people who, like when you're talking about the gun violence in America, they're developing their own fantasies around this is the right thing to do. Somehow they come to that conclusion with their fantasies. It's not that it's not real, it's that where they're coming from. How are they coming to these decisions? This is a good idea.
Yeah, and it is quite interesting to see how people influence one another. And it would be lovely You know, because if Christ came on the planet like right now, like and incarnated and walked the streets, he would be called woke. He would be persecuted. It would be the same as it was back in Judea. I mean, it would be something quite similar because he would be preaching love and he would be preaching inclusion and he would be persecuted for it. And I often look at it, you know, the Master used to say to us that this will never be heaven because this is not what this world was created for. It's created for as a university for the soul. And that in the university of the soul goes through suffering, but the wisdom distilled from that is what makes it a fast track through a state of oneness, because we start to seek for the answers. But it's quite interesting to see how even from the days of when Christ walked the planet to now, the same mindset still remains. People worship a book. They coagulate, they exchange money, they superiorate themselves as we're the chosen ones and everybody else is inferior. And then they gather wealth. And they do it through fear. And I'm telling you, if Jesus walked into a place right now and said, "Hey, I'm the Christ, I'm here to redeem you all," he'd probably be stoned to death. So
Again.
Yes, again. This is how we have to begin to start framing our lives in this never-ending cycle of returning ourselves back time and time again to see oneness. I don't know about any of you guys, but for me, when I meditate or when I am out and about and I have to constantly turn my mind from the division back to oneness, constantly in my meditations, turn my mind from a scattered focus to a clear focus. And sometimes it takes a lot of effort to do that. Does anyone else experience that as well? Like just like rusty gears, you just have to, okay, I'm here. Okay, I'm good now. I'm good for a few minutes. And then you like repeat the names of God, you know, and I'm seeing oneness, and isn't it good? And then squirrel. Oh my God, I really hate that over there. Then back to focus again. I'm not happy that other people do the same thing, but I was sitting in meditation this morning. I thought, I've been doing this since I was 17 years old. I'm 72 right now. You think I would sit down and just go inside? I'd be like, all good. Nah. I sit and I struggle to stay focused. And after about an hour, I'm like, and I'm focused. It takes me an hour to get my mind focused. And then when I'm there, it's super blissful. So those of you that are on a meditational cycle or doing meditation, just know it's a long haul for some. Like me, it's just a long haul. It may not be that for you, but it certainly has been for me. Carly, would you like to read the next one?
Okay. This is a course in mind training. All learning involves attention and study at some level. Some of the latter parts of the course rest too heavily on these earlier sections not to require their careful study. You will also need them for preparation. Without this, you may become much too fearful of what is to come to make constructive use of it. However, as you study these earlier sections, you will begin to see some of the implications that will be amplified later on.
Isn't that funny?
I had
About University of the Soul, Gary. It's funny how you were talking about this is, you know, we're here on this world in this life to actually, it's the University of the Soul. That's why we're here. And now it's talking about learning and study and mind training.
Yeah, I mean, I am convinced, and maybe this is my own predisposition, but I'm convinced unless the mind is trained to return itself back to a state of balance as far as how we perceive our reality, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to begin to start lessening the fear, because our mind will literally take us down a road that will keep us enslaved our entire lives, where we won't have the ability to see oneness or be able to reel in the emotions enough that we can feel the love that's all around us. So when someone, will say to me, just focus on God, I'm like, no, like I tried that for about 25 years and that doesn't work, because it's like laying a silk sari over a pig, like the pig is still there. I actually have to unravel the mystery of what's happened to me, and I have to be able to create emotional neutrality around it so that the soul and the love I am can naturally begin to percolate to the surface. And everybody has their own road and their own path, but that certainly has been mine, is that if I attempted to just meditate to overcome the wranglings of my own mind, my own separated mind, I don't know if I would have had as much peace as I have currently. I think it's a process of both, stilling the mind and loving the soul.
Linda, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Who are you speaking to, V?
Oh, Linda. Did I interrupt you before?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You sure, Linda?
Yours was much more important. Mine was just
no. Please say yours.
No, truly, honestly, it was nothing. It was nothing. I was just filling a gap. You know how I do sometimes. I do that occasionally.
No, it's one of your great strengths, my dear. Linda, would you like to read the next one, number 5?
Sure. Is there any chance that can just be enlarged a little bit at all?
Yeah, you should ask this.
Yeah, I'll just see if she can enlarge it though.
Let me see if...
Awesome.
Oh, hold on now. There we go. Now we've got number 5. Look at the size of that one.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
This is the one you've asked me to read.
Okay. No, I just walked into a big donut shop and the donuts are 3 feet wide.
No, that's why I asked her to enlarge it. A solid foundation is necessary because of the confusion between fear and awe to which I have already referred, and which is often made. I have said that awe is inappropriate in connection with the sons of God, because you should not experience awe in the presence of your equals. However, it was also emphasized that awe is proper in the presence of your Creator. I have been careful to clarify my role in the atonement, and without either over or understating it. I am also trying to do the same with yours. I have stressed that awe is not an appropriate reaction to me because of our inherent equality. Some of the later steps in this course, however, involve a more direct approach to God Himself. It would be unwise to start on these steps without careful preparation, or awe will be confused with fear, and the experience will be more traumatic than beatific. Never heard of that.
Beatific. I thought it would be something with beauty, but it's not spelled
right. Healing is of God in the end. The means are being carefully explained to you. Revelation may occasionally reveal the end to you, but to reach it, the means are needed. Any thoughts?
It's going to take a little bit to sink in.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
V, do you have some thoughts? I could give it a go, but V, if you've got something, that'd be awesome.
It does kind of feel like we're just revisiting something that we did touch on before. So we create miracles between each other when we connect, but our connection to God is not a miracle. It's even greater, and it's often recognized too soon. There's a lot in there. That's just my take on the first bit between awe and creating miracle.
Well, what I find really interesting is that it sort of states awe is inappropriate in connection with the sons of God, meaning with each other. And because you should not experience awe in the presence of your equals. And then it says it's only to be expressed in the presence of the Creator. And then it says, I have been careful to clarify my role in the atonement without either over understating it. I'm also trying the same with yours. I've stressed that awe is not an appropriate reaction to me because our inherent equality. So if we're assuming that this is a Christ speaking, he's fundamentally saying that he is an equal to us. And how I interpret that is that because he took a human form, that he was human, and he then was part of the sonship and part as far as being equal to us. Some of the later steps of the course, however, involve a more direct approach to God himself. It would be unwise to start on these steps without careful preparation, or all will be confused with fear. And how I take that is, it's so funny. There's this billboard when I come back from Little Rock that says, fear, are you prepared to meet God? And I was like, well, that's super inappropriate. Like, be very afraid. You have this very wrathful and vengeful God that governs over you, and you've sinned, and therefore you're doomed to hell, and the only thing that can save you is this. So give me all your money as I tell you this, and make you very afraid. And if you give me more money, then maybe you'll be saved anyways. So some of the later steps, it says, would be unwise to start these steps without careful preparation, or all will be confused with fear. I do think that people oftentimes become very fearful of this divine presence, like this true divine presence. Healing is of God in the end, and I think only of God. Like, we don't, personally, I don't think we earn anything. I think we can meditate for 1,000 years and still not earn this. Well, cancel clear. I think what I want to say is that our awakening is given to us by grace. It's not given to us because we earn it. It's not given to us because we pray hard or because we meditate long or whatever it is. It's given to us out of complete and total grace. Whatever's ever happened to me has not been from something that I've done or said or earned, or it's just been not from me. It's been given. And how many of you can look at your life and go, whatever special qualities we have with our relationship to what we consider the divine, was it because you did something that was so righteous, or was it because you were given this moment of complete inspiration and a moment where you felt one or connected to the divine? Have you ever experienced you earning it, or has it just been given to you in a moment of inspiration? That's a question I'm asking. Does anyone want to throw out an answer?
But really, how can you earn, you know, something really?
You can't.
No. Yeah. I don't know.
It's given freely out of just, in my opinion, just pure grace.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think begins to draw that grace to you is a deep longing, like a lover would long for the beloved. A deep longing where nothing else satisfies you except for that divine love. And I felt it once or twice. It certainly isn't a common experience, but when I have felt it, then I've felt more grace on me. So it isn't so much what we do. I don't, at least this is my own limited perspective of it. I don't think it's what we do. It's about the longing and the love of God and the connection to that beyond all other desires. And I think when we have that, that's when more grace comes.
I think
Does
if you're
anyone-
doing things, sorry.
No, please.
I think if you're doing things in purity as well, not for benefit or gain or anything like that, you know, like you don't want anything for it. You're just giving for the fact of, as you said, helping,
Serving.
and things like that. You know, you're doing it with the purest of thought and that intentions. Yeah.
No, that's very, very true. It's almost like if we can serve one another as if we were serving God. I love this one thought that, you know, in all living things, you're looking to the face of God in all living things. And if we can walk our day like that, that becomes incredibly restorative. When we walk our day in judgment or in some narrative inside ourselves of the things that should have happened but didn't happen, and how upset you are and how they should have done this or done that, whatever it is, whatever narrative we create, and there's myriad forms of them. But if we just walk and appreciate and love the face of God in all living things, I think that creates a really powerful state of healing. So,
And
does
can
anyone have anything you want to add?
yes.
Please.
I think too, in my own mind, is when you have a bad day, so that's your day when you do judge people and you just want to opt out for a while and you want to sleep in and you want to just, you know, put your head underneath the covers and just not even focus on the world that's on the outside. We need to have that time, as long as it's not going on every day, you know, and you're not having any good time. But when you do have the good time means that much more. Like things are more special because you've had the bad time. Does that make sense, or am I?
No, that makes
all
total
in my
sense.
head?
No, it
I
makes
just think
total
that
sense.
sometimes you still need to have those times,
The bad
because
to appreciate the good.
yeah, just let the ego take over for that day or for those few hours or whatever the case may be, so that you know where to find that balance. So the next day the sun rises, you can look at it and go, right, well, you can go back in your little box because this is the path and I'm not going to fall into that again for at least another 3 days.
Well, you know, if we
Let's put
didn't
a
have
time on
suffering,
it.
if we didn't have suffering, we would never seek. And
Correct.
if we didn't seek, we would never find.
Correct.
And so everything works in this kind of effortless universe of opposites and duality, and they both serve each other.
Balance.
I feel like
It's not
with this.
earned.
Oh, go Joe.
Go
Sorry.
ahead, V. Go ahead, V.
No, you go.
I was just going to throw in there, that's why I feel it's not earned. It's always there. It's you choosing the duality of it. You know, if you choose to stay in those low-lying egotistical vibrations, you're you're going to receive what you put out. But if you are able to shift your mindset into the loving, the compassion, the kindness, the caring for others, the art of giving and receiving, that's when you start opening up and receiving that, as Gary said, that grace of God. It's a flow, really. So as you fall backwards, as Linda was saying, into those low-lying vibrations, and you just get judgy and crabby, and you just got to give yourself a timeout and allow yourself to just allow that emotion to pass. When you wake up, that sun shines the next day. It's a new start. It's a new day. It's a let's be a little better today than we were yesterday thing, and then you can fall back into those graces of God.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
what he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well, you all said it. I just put it in a different phrase.
Yes. I feel like
Well,
the discussion on this paragraph is it's created another level of what gratitude means for me, because now gratitude isn't about so much about, oh, I'm grateful for my mind, I'm grateful for this. I'm just grateful. It's just a whole other level of just in meditation, you're just receiving. You're receiving this energy. You're receiving life. And just accepting it and reveling in it.
And it's a good practice to be thankful even for those bad days. You want to be just as grateful for the good things as you are the bad things, because we're humans, we're label makers. We put labels on everything, but that doesn't mean what's good is bad and what's bad is good. It's how you grow from that experience. As I said before, I've gone through some pretty horrible things in relationships, and I sit back and I look like, wow, that was 12 years ago. Where would I be if I was still trying to make that relationship work? And here I am now in a place that I am absolutely grateful to be sitting in, because I learned, I grew, I didn't hold on to something that wasn't no good for me. I let it go, and I essentially gave things to God and just said, whatever's meant to be, let it be. Allow me to walk in the path that you placed before me with love and compassion. And I can look back at these horrible things that I deemed horrible at the time and say, wow, that moment in time really freaking sucked, but damn, did I grow from that crap.
Learning lesson.
Many of
No,
them.
I kind of think that our whole entire existence is about this university that we're in, and pain is the greatest teacher. And it forces us to get to the point to where we no longer view it as pain, that we view it from a place of neutrality. And I kind of think that is how we practice the course as well, by looking at our lives and stop judging the things that we feel are bad or good or wrong or right, or that's caused us discomfort in some way or fear in some way. If we're able to look at it from a place of neutrality, then we transcend the fantasy, and then we start seeing oneness everywhere, not only in each other, but most importantly for me anyways, where it's most intimate are the things that happen in my life. I want it to happen like this, but it doesn't. And then I become upset or judgy about it not happening the way I thought it should happen. And then I'll catastrophize because it didn't happen the way I thought it would happen, and blah, 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 blah. And all along, it's like it's just pure grace. I can walk through those things in pure grace and not judge it. It's my condemnation of it that causes the suffering. It's not the thing itself. It is the act of my condemnation of it, that it didn't turn out the way my ego designated it to be. Therefore, I'm suffering because of that.
And yet, like you say, when you look back on it, at the time you're thinking, why didn't I get that? Or, how come I wasn't the one to receive that, or whatever the case may be. And when you look back on it further down the track, you think, wow, I'm so glad that didn't happen. I'm so glad I didn't get that, because otherwise this would have happened and I wouldn't be here. So it's pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, it's in everything, in absolutely everything. And it's all like, there's this line that we'll eventually come to in the Course of Miracles where it says, all things past, present, and to come are gently planned by one who unconditionally loves me.
Mm,
Means
nice.
nothing to judge from the past, nothing to fear in the future.
Can you repeat that again, please, Gary?
Sure. It says that all things past, present, and to come are gently planned by someone who unconditionally loves me.
Wow. That's really powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we can surrender
Tears
into
in my eye.
that, then it dispels the fantasy. It corrects the separated mind. And we start having an appropriate connection to the presence of the Creator.
Mm.
Hmm. You want to go on, V?
Sure.
Or do we want to just stay here for a moment?
Chapter 2.
Wow.
Chapter 2.
Ah,
So I know where we are in the book now.
Yes. We are actually, according to my version, we're on page 15.
Page 17 in the actual book is chapter 2, so that's not too far
Oh,
off.
yes, 17. Yep.
who would like to read?
I'll go.
Go.
To extend is a fundamental aspect of God, which he gave to his Son. In the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. You have not only been fully created, but have also been created perfect. There is no emptiness in you. Because of your likeness to your Creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is. But he can use it inappropriately by projecting. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you, and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. This process involves the following steps. Shall we go through the steps, or should we go through that first?
Yeah, no, let's go through the steps.
Okay, I'm going to close that off. First, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. Second, you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking. Third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself. Fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and that the direction of your creation is up to you.
So if we broke it down to understand just the first line, to extend, I'd like to know what your guys' interpretation of that word is. To extend is a fundamental aspect of God which he gave to his Son. So does that mean to extend our creation or God's creation out through manifestation, through our thoughts, through our will, through our focus? How do you guys interpret that word, to extend?
I kind of feel it's interchangeable with create. And I think he's just using that word differently here because of this paragraph to get an understanding of what we're going to do here.
Okay, I'll buy that. I think that's spot on. Anybody else want to add or subtract?
For me, it means to stretch.
Yeah.
That's basically what I got out of it. Was as it was being read, I envisioned just that reaching out, that lending that hand, that reaching back to pull somebody out of that situation that you know how to get out of. So just that whole reaching or extending or stretching aspect.
And then in the creation, God extended himself to his creations and imbued them with the same loving will to create. Which simply means, like we're made in the image and likeness of God. Like all world faiths say that. So, the thing that can be easily presupposed is that we create. And I love the next line where it says, you've not only been fully created, but you have also been created perfect.
How many of us think that, though?
Yeah, I was just going to say, how many of us really believe that we've been created perfect?
Well, is it an egotistical day or is it a heart-centered day?
Well, if we don't get too judgy on ourselves, we can actually say we've been created perfectly. And we forget periodically.
I think too, so often if people say, oh, well, I was born perfect, that it's a joke. Like when people talk about being perfect, it's actually said in jest rather than in all seriousness. So you have to move your mind around to thinking, okay, well, I have been created perfect. So what happened along the way?
We believed in imperfection.
Everything's always thrown into the negative.
Yeah, I mean, we modeled our mothers and fathers. We saw things that were unloving. We had our hearts broken. We had fear. They were broken and they demonstrated that. And they actually become, as we become externalized as babies, they become who we depend on for survival. So if our protectors are broken, that leaves us vulnerable, which means that we become fearful that we're all alone in the world. And in my mind, that's the first state of separation from God, where we lose the ability, unless we're taught at a very young age, that there is this all-powerful force and a constant guidance over you. Like my mom was not well when I was a little baby, mentally and emotionally. And I knew that. When she would leave the house, I would literally scream at the door until she came home. Because I felt like she's not safe in the world and I'm going to be abandoned. She's not capable in the world and I'm going to be abandoned. So this is how we kind of start to develop that idea of a separate reality other than to what the truth is that we are modeling with our minds because we start associating deeply into the body. And then if we associate too deeply into the body without a spiritual connection, we really believe that the body is ephemeral, and it is, but that we are our body more importantly, and that we're at risk. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Carolee, you look like you're very puzzled and like Bambi in the headlights.
It must be part of the perfection, though, because we are traumatized early in life. It
is. It's absolutely part of the perfection. I mean, remember when we stated before that without the pain, we do not seek. We don't look. We don't wonder. We don't go on a path of spiritual questing. So yeah, ultimately at the end of the day, it's perfect. It'd be great if we could remember where we came from and always hold that memory, but we don't. But yeah, I personally think when we die, we strive throughout our life to reach that state of perfected connection that we had the moment we came into the world. So it's almost like our whole life is about returning to that moment where we can experience that perfect connection once again. And we come full circle. What do you guys think?
I'm thinking how often our perfection is lost in our self-doubt. And I know when I approach things without any egotistical kind of, this is how it's going to happen. It's more of, this is my intention and I'm going to have a go. And if I come from, this is my intention, I'm going to have a go, that's coming from a much healthier place where I'm not doubting myself and I'm surrendering that whatever I do is going to be perfect. Whatever the result is perfect.
Yeah. It's funny. Robert and I are looking for lots to build a house on because we're selling our home in Santa Fe and we're going to bring that money here and build a house. And so we've been looking for lots for about a week, and people are just buying them like really fast right now. And so we finally found one tonight. We found one, and I kept saying we'd get pictures of lots, and I'd hold the pendulum over them, and it would go, no, not this one. I'd hold the pendulum over another one. I'd get a little yes. I'd hold the pendulum over another no. And Robert's like, you're cheating. All the lots I like, it says no. All the lots you like, it says yes. It's funny. But anyways, we finally found a great lot just like about a couple hours ago. So and we kept saying like the perfect place is gonna be found. It's gonna be perfect, and we don't have to stress. We'll find the right one. It's gonna be good. If we both don't agree, then we don't do it. If one agrees and the other one doesn't, we don't do it. And we finally found it. But I only think it really comes from knowing that there's something else guiding us, and that we are having to surrender over the results. How many of you have got something coming up in the future where you're like, I really don't know what the outcome of that's going to be, and I just need to just surrender over whatever that outcome is, and just know that it's going
single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Carolee's looking wistfully into the distance.
Yeah, well, yes, all the time. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
I think all those are like moments for miracles, where you really just go, oh, surrendered over to you. Just bring me closer to you. And whatever eventuates is what will bring me closer to you. So I'm happy with however it leads. I'll put out the effort. I'll decide this and I'll decide that, and I'll make the right calls and I'll take the right action. But it's really quite up to you. And I think if our prayer is, bring to me that which is going to bring me closer to you, and then surrender over the results, but do the steps you have to do in the physical form to actually make stuff happen, but you're surrendering over the results. I think that's a really powerful way to walk into the future. So just wanted to share that.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Do we want to read more? V, do you want to read some more of that? And then we'll go down and look at the first steps, the second step, third, and fourth.
So read more of the paragraph.
Yeah. Let's just read it again.
From the beginning, or?
No, I think there is no emptiness in you, because we read the other ones.
Yeah. Because of your likeness to your creator, you are creative. No child of God can lose this ability because it is inherent in what he is, but he can use it inappropriately by projecting. The inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you and that you can fill it with your own ideas instead of truth. I think I went through most of my corporate life doing that, chasing the dollar.
Yep.
Well, let's read the steps.
Okay. First, you believe that what God created can be changed by your own mind. Keep going, or are we going to dissect each one?
Yeah, that when you really think about that statement, um, where would you know the division between your will and what God created? And perhaps is if I felt this massive inspiration to do X, Y, and Z, then God created that as well. Like if I wanted to change, let's say, my direction of a career path, then God would have instilled, or I would have instilled in myself, because I am part of God and creative, it can't be separated, that I would have instilled in myself that desire. So when I look at this statement, there is this fine line between following the natural propensities of my desire towards something, and then what God created, because I believe God created the desire, but then God created can be, you believe that, first of all, that what God created can be changed by your own mind. That's a very razor sharp line. Does anyone have any clarity on that?
To me, that's where fantasy comes in. That's what comes to my mind anyway. That's where the fantasy, your fantasy comes into it.
Yeah, so yeah, my understanding of the fantasy versus reality is I have to tap into how I feel about it to work out whether is this a feeling of separation or is this a feeling of connection.
Yeah, I think that's a good point as well, as unless you're actually in that situation, whatever that situation is, that's when you need to decide.
I think that's probably the acid test fee, to tell you the truth. Is that, does it bring connection or does it bring more separation?
Next one.
Yep.
So let's see if I can make it smaller and maybe we'll go on.
There we go.
It'll be small. Oh, that's too small.
Mm.
I think there was only 4 anyway. Let's have a look. Yes, beautiful. Okay. Second, do you believe that what is perfect can be rendered imperfect or lacking?
That's what we were saying we believe about ourselves, isn't it?
Yes. So is it egotistical to think we're lacking then? Is that the ego keeping us small?
Yep.
I think anything that's of the negative, it's the ego, isn't it? The ego's pushing. But the hard work actually comes in retaining the positiveness and the, continuing to seek the grace, etc., etc.
And I find with ego, from my perspective, the ego is all those limiting beliefs that are trying to keep us small and protect us. So it has a good intention as well. So for me, that helps me recognize, oh, that's just that little fear there, but it's okay. I can deal with that now. Shall I keep going?
Yeah, please.
Third, you believe that you can distort the creations of God, including yourself.
Kind of what we said. That's probably the fantasy piece again as well.
Fourth, you believe that you can create yourself and the direction of your own creation is up to you.
It does seem to be continually repeating the fact that we have, like that one quote that we said before, that all things past, present, and to come are gently planned by a force that unconditionally loves us. So, I guess when you look at it, you wonder, is there anything really to be worried about? Or that to be massively concerned about? doesn't mean we don't do what we do in the world, but I think we surrender over the results to something higher. Does anyone have any insight they want to give on this one?
I think that that is what society is telling us all the time, very strongly, that we create ourselves.
Yeah.
But doesn't society actually want everybody in the same box? So that therefore it's not individual growth. It's you must all grow the same way.
Yeah. It's a bit of a herd mentality, I think,
Mm.
or tribalism.
Yes, here's the lead sheep. You must follow that.
I don't think that's working now anymore.
No.
Well, it's not. It's becoming more fragmented, with different
If
things
it
that are
ever did
happening.
work.
Well, I think it did.
Well,
And I listened to my mum, and she just whatever the news is telling her is what she repeats. That's become her story every day.
but
So-
society is so general, though. I mean, you look at different parts of the world, and they're all going to have different ideas about, you know,
Mm.
and even pockets within the communities will have different ideas. So it
There's
depends who you
still
go
that control. There's still that control there, though. I mean, society needs to be controlled, because we don't have anything to help it work if it changes from what it always has been. And we can see that by the little fragment, the little fragments that are breaking off. Like since COVID, people are still trying to revert back to what the old normal was, and now they're calling, but then they're saying, but what we're living in now is the new normal. It's like, well, why can't we just be normal? Why does it have to be old normal and new normal?
Why do we have to be normal at all?
Well, just do what we're doing, try to become better people
What is normal?
Exactly.
Well, it's none of us on the call, that's for
That's
sure.
right.
Correct.
I like it that way.
Yeah.
I've got a coaching client in 10
we've got
minutes.
to go.
So let's know that we stopped here at second chapter number 1. V, what's your word or your sentence from what you got out of tonight?
I'm going to approach everything in my life beatifically, blissfully happy.
Nice. Joe?
If the meaning of life was to feel emotions, are you ready to feel them all?
Nice. Carly?
God unconditionally loves us.
The 2 wise women in Western Australia.
Mine's a simple word: perception.
Follow your path.
Mine is surrender to the good that is coming and that's all around us.
That's lovely.
Gang, you have an incredible week. We will see you next Tuesday.
Okay.
Yes, you
I had
will.
to double check because I had something written in my calendar like group 2. I didn't know what that was, but now I know what it was. It came to me.
I will miss next week, but I will be on a regular after. So I'll be back.
Okay.
Oh boy, Joe.
Good to see
Great.
you, Joe.
Yes,
We love you too
definitely.
much, Joe, for you not to be on a regular thereafter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to be coming back. I didn't realize it, but I made a coaching call for Tuesday to finish up something I'm doing. I'm like, what did I do that for? Now I gotta miss another. I started counting and all of that.
Won't do that again.
Yeah, no kidding.
Mm.
Okay, my friends, we will talk to you later. You have a great night.
You too.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.